what did you do after school?
Yeah. Well,
And
hey,
and yeah, yeah.
I'm, we're missing too much good stuff here. So I hit the record button because I don't
Yeah.
want to miss these are the kind of conversations I wish people would hear. So let's get
Yeah,
into it.
yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Scandlux, your home for Scandinavian luxury products for the US market. You can find us at scandlux.com.
Yeah, I figured that when I went to the rink at the first time, and like I said, the guys were working their asses off, and they were there before, like hour and a half before the off-ice practices started, and the coach came to me and told me, "What are you doing?" And I came to the practice, and it starts in 5 minutes, right? Like I have enough time to change my equipment on, and I'm good to go. And that was the first conversation we had about putting in some extra work to be able to make the roster.
Yep.
And yeah, but I don't know. Well, I was 18, turning 19, and still living probably in a world what we had in Finland, because I was talented and I was able to uh, I was able to play in the top level in Finland, even though I didn't put in any extra work. I had fun with my friends during the weekends, and I I I would say that I I I didn't I was not ready to give up anything, my personal life.
Yeah, it was
And
on your
that's,
terms.
yeah, my terms. And and that's the most important stuff, like you said, that you have to be ready to let go of something, to be a top player, or um see actually that how far are you able to go.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
why don't we go back a little bit?
Yeah.
So tell us about a little bit about your background. Let's start here. With us today for the Swedish Junior Hockey Podcast, we have Tomi Stahlhammar. For if we translate it, I just think it's such a good hockey name. How do you translate it into English?
I don't know. There's been many
Steelhammer.
different. Yeah, yeah, but
Steelhammer.
that's probably the most common that they used in the States when I played there. Yeah, for a year. Yeah,
So
and yeah, yeah, you have a sick name, Steelhammer. Yeah, well, I was a kind of a soft player during that time, so I was skilled player, like
yeah, yeah.
I thought I was. But yeah, so the name doesn't go, in that category that I was a player. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's a I like the name.
yeah. So current U16 coach with Jokerit in Finland outside of Helsinki. And if we start with kind of your background, if we look at elite prospects, certainly so Tomi with Tomi, Stålhammar, you can look it up for those that are listening, and what you'll find is a pretty extensive youth and junior career, and then we'll talk about your journey into USHL with Cedar Rapids, but I'm interested because so you're actually the first guy from Finland that I've had on. We've talked offline a little bit and laughed about your journey and kind of our similarities in the journey to the US. But I'm interested in a couple of things, your journey specific, but also a little bit on when we comparing Swedish systems to Finnish systems in school and juniors
Mm,
to senior.
mm.
And the similarities. Since you're coaching U16, we talked offline a little bit. Explain the age that, first of all, U16 in Finland, you're dealing with 07 birth year.
Yeah, yeah.
So what grade in school? Are they in ninth grade, just like in Sweden, where you have ninth grade last year of compulsory school?
Yeah, ninth grade. Yeah, so 07 born, like you said, and then ninth grade in school right now. And then after this year, they are applying to the second higher education
And is
level
it
in
called
Finland also.
gymnasium in Finland too?
I think yeah, it's in Finland. It's lukio. It's like high school. If you compare it to the States, but I know if what it's compared, if you compare it to Swedish school system, because we have 9 years, the basic school, and then after that you apply to we call it high school here.
Okay. And it's 3
Yeah.
years?
Yeah, 3 years.
Okay. So it's the same thing in Sweden. It's funny. In Denmark, you have the ability to go a 10th year before you go to, they call it gymnasium over there. So in Sweden, it's gymnasiet. And then
Yeah.
after 3 years, you go and can then go to university or högskolan. And
Yeah.
so it's similar in Finland. So
similar, yes.
So in Jokerit,
Mm.
which is in Helsinki, right?
In Helsinki, yes.
Yeah. And but you grew up in Espoo.
Yeah, I actually was born in Western Finland in Turku, and
Turku.
and we moved to Kirkkonummi. It's in Helsinki area. It's nearby Espoo, and we lived there. I moved from Turku when I was 3 years old, and we moved to Kirkkonummi and to Helsinki area, and then I've been living here since then. Year and a half in the States, but still in here, and I'm actually a Espoo guy, I would say.
Yeah. But now, so Jokerit, which is one of the large clubs in Finland, have had some tremendous players that comes through Jokerit. Are they still in the KHL?
No, they actually dropped out when the war began. So
okay, so now they're playing in the Finnish Liga.
They are actually not playing anywhere at the moment.
Oh, really?
And that's the whole different story that we could talk about over an hour after, and several days. But they are actually we don't have a men's team at the moment.
Okay.
So our oldest age is under 20s, and Jokerit is trying to get back on the Finnish Liga. But I think that they have to go through Mestis, so it's like Allsvenskan in Sweden.
Yep.
So they have to go through that, and then they have to apply for a Liga spot after a year, I think, or depending on what the what Liga is deciding. So it's not that easy, but I know that each and every one of I would say that at all, like the Finland is waiting for Jokerit to return to Liga, because it raises the market value of the smaller teams when Jokerit is coming to the town, because it raises I wouldn't say hate, but it's like a love-hate relationship between Jokerit, because it's always been a one of the top teams in Finland, and Helsinki is the big city. Helsinki people are a little better than everyone else. That's how they think, and that's why I that's interesting to see when it's gonna happen. But eventually, I think that it's gonna happen. They will return to Liga, and that's a good thing, I think.
Yeah.
The KHL, because in Jokerit, if you think about it, and let's be honest, jump from under 20s to KHL, impossible. Like there is no players that they can do that. So we don't have like Jokerit don't have they cannot offer the whole path to the players, all the juniors, and then after that the professional career in the same club. That's something that we don't have right now in Jokerit, and that's why I hope that they come back to Finnish League as soon as possible.
Yeah. So let's go back to your career, starting off in Espoo, playing youth hockey all the way up through juniors. And pretty early on, I mean, I'm pulling up your elite prospects. Every year, international play, U16, U17, U18 international play with Team Finland. And so we're talking 2004 to 2006 in those times. It's been a little while ago, but
Yeah.
I just think that it's a little, what makes it a little unique is that you made the jump from junior 18, junior 20 in Espoo, and then Cedar Rapids in the USHL. So let's talk about how in the world did that happen, and what made you go a year in the US?
Yeah, well, actually, I was ready to keep going in under 20s, and I was practicing with Espoo Blues Liga at that time also. So, but then actually my dad got a job offer from the United States, and then we started thinking that it was a job that he wanted to take, and of course it was good for his career. And then we started thinking that if it's is it possible for me to play during that time when he's working. And then we got we got in touch with the player agent, and they started looking for options. And then I got a tryout from Cedar Rapids, and I don't know why I ended up in CR. That's something that I don't even know, but they offered me a tryout spot, and I went there to the tryouts, and I got in. So that was the story behind that, why I moved to the US.
All right, so back up a little bit, because your dad ended up in Norfolk, Hampton Roads, Virginia, on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And explain, everybody in the US and Canada probably knows where Cedar Rapids, Iowa is, but explain the difference between coming to the East Coast and Virginia Beach and Iowa, which was one of the flyover states, what it's called over here.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the USHL was the league that I wanted to get in, because we didn't feel that there was like a league that good in Virginia area, or nearby that.
Correct.
And yeah, so that's why. And the agent told me that the USHL is a really good league, and they can also take care of the school stuff, and everything. So and I got a housing family and all that, so it's an easy way to just play hockey and study during your year in the CR, and then it opens opportunities to maybe play in the universities or colleges or whatever. And that's why I went there, because I was, even though I wasn't ready to put in that work ethic that you need to come a long career at player. I wanted to play hockey, and I wanted to be professional. When I come back to Finland, I wanted to be a tougher player and better player. So that's why I took the step and then went to the USHL Iowa. And like you said, it's flyover state. I remember the highway between my house and the rink. It was field everywhere, nothing else, all flat. So it was perfect place to play hockey, because there was nothing else.
And certainly, I mean, for those who don't know, USHL, top league in the US, Tier 1. And if you look at the players that play in Tier 1 USHL today, it's a fantastic level. I mean, it is it's top cream of the crop, and the future NHL players. So you get there, you try out, you make the team. And what was that like? A completely new environment, away from your family, with a billet family, and now you're coming in, you're the only Finnish guy, but you had a Swede with you too, right?
Yeah, there was one Swedish guy, Robin Bergman, I think. Yeah, Robin was his name, and that made it a little easier because of course we bonded with Robin right away, and in tryouts there was a little bit of that Finnish Swedish rivalry, but because we didn't know each other, but we both made the team, and after that it was all friendship like from the beginning, so that made it a little easier. We also had one Belarus player in our team, and so the probably the most difficult part was the language, because I wasn't uh I didn't love school at home, so I didn't study English. That I was I wasn't able to speak English with people, and I'm a shy person, so it was tough in the beginning. But when the Belarus player Sergey was his name, he was even worse than I was, and it made me I was able to open my mouth also in the locker room at some point. So
That's got to
yeah,
be a pretty. So how old were you at the time? Were you 18 yet, or were you 17?
Yeah, 18.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's got to be pretty pivotal in your if you look back at development, not necessarily as a hockey player, but just growing up as a person.
Oh yeah.
Pretty quick.
Yeah, like huge huge step for me. Like I had to take care of everything. Of course I had the housing family, billet family, or whatever it's called, but yeah, still I was on my own quite a bit, and you had to study in foreign language. You had to uh, go to the mall and stores, and you had to take care of stuff you're on your own, and with the foreign language. So probably the biggest thing that I got from that trip was the language. Of course, it's a little rusty because it's been a while since I last
Oh, you're doing great. You're
spoke
doing great.
English. Thanks.
So
And yeah.
And then you finished. So you were able to finish high school in the U.S. So you have a high school diploma.
Yeah, I have
as well.
Yeah. That was a story. Of course, they had some kind of package to me and Robin that we can get familiar with the high school system in the States, and take a couple of classes, and just play hockey. But I decided that if I want to graduate from high school at some point, even in Finland, I have to do it there, because now I have the time there. I don't have any because we had curfews and everything with the team, so I had time to study. I had time to do that stuff there. There was no weekend, free weekends that I can hang out with my friends, and that. Of course I hang out with my teammates, but still I had the time to do it. And how it went, it was I was 2 years in the Finnish high school, and I got classes through that, or enough classes to my dad wrote a little biography of each and every one of the classes
they transferred.
Yeah, I took. Yeah. So yeah, I was able to graduate in the end of the year, but still it was the toughest year I've had, because with the foreign language you have to study in high school, and you have to be senior in high school, so math and everything little tough for me. In English it was tough for me in Finnish high school, but when you translate in English also, it was tough, and long nights studying and using vocabulary. So yeah.
Good. And then so you had a year in the USHL, tough league. And let's talk a little bit about that. And I remember you telling me the story about going home for going to Virginia Beach over Christmas, and left the bag in Iowa.
Yeah. I went home for Christmas, and in Finland, when you have a Christmas break, you take a Christmas break. So, or that's what I thought, and yeah, I flew home, and then right away when I landed to Virginia Beach, or Norfolk was the airport, I can't remember, but still, a coach called me and starts yelling at me at the phone. Tomi, where, or he didn't yell at that time. He asked, Tomi, when are you picking up your equipment? They're still in the locker room. And I'm like, coach, I'm on a Christmas break, so I will be back in like week 2, whatever it was, the break. And then he got angry with me that how I'm gonna skate during the break if I don't have my equipment with me. And so then he said that, yeah, you have like, he gave me a timeline and said that you have to call me back and tell me where you get skates and equipment for the Christmas break, so you can go to the ice. And then I gathered up some stuff from my brother's team, or he's 4 years younger than I am, so I got few equipment from there, and went to their ice and skated with the with their skates and equipment. So I got ice in, but I don't know how much I got better during that time, but still.
And then you have to come back from, so it was a little bit different mindset and culturally, and then you get back to Cedar Rapids, and a little different attitude with the coaches.
Yeah. Well, it was a tough year for me. Like I said, I wasn't ready to put in that work that the other guys were doing, and even though I realized what it takes, like I saw it every day, but still I didn't want to do it myself. And coaches they didn't love it. So I think I played like 30 something games in the USHL, and of course there was an injury, or I was sick a longer period, but still I was a tough season, like hockey wise for me. So it was, yeah.
But then you had the opportunity to perhaps stay and go to college or go back to Finland. Was your dad still working in the US at the time?
Yeah, he worked for 2 years in Virginia Beach.
But then so you decided to go back to Espoo at the time.
Yeah, I decided to go back, and yeah, the year was tough, and then I missed my friends and home, and I don't know, the coach wanted me to stay. I had a meeting with the coach after the season, and he asked how I felt about the year, and then said that I wanted to stay here, that he thinks that he can teach me what it takes. And it wasn't a too long conversation. I said like almost right away that I'm not gonna stay. I'm going back to Finland. And in the beginning of the year, I had offers from universities, colleges, everything. I had a chance to do that. And if I look back, it's easy to say now, but if I look back now, probably the right decision would be me to stay in the USHL for another year, to get a good season in. I was familiar with the habits they had there, with the coach. I love the coach. He pushed us forward, and I understand his methods afterwards, but he was a tough coach, and he wanted to measure all out from us each and every day, and it was tough. But if you add the school and the foreign language and the tough season, it was just too much for me at that time.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I mean, based on what I'm hearing is he must have saw something in you. He saw the talent, and he probably saw that if you could overcome kind of the immaturity or work ethic, he had something there and wanted you to stay. And it's tough when you're 18, 19, especially when you're missing home.
Yeah.
So we'll get back
And
to that
also,
now. We'll
yeah,
get back to
yeah,
that a little bit when we talk about you now as a coach. But go ahead.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, the coach said also in CR to me that you don't have high school next year, so it's gonna be easier for you, and you can concentrate on hockey.
Yeah.
And but yeah, like that was the only thing I was going to say. So
Yeah. And I think the other part is, that transition being in a comfort zone and then moving into a new area. It's very, very tough, and people underestimate how hard it is to go from comfortable to uncomfortable and different habits um and these type of things. So
yeah,
let's now transition. So after that, you kind of moved back and played several years all the way up into SM Liga and so on, and we could go into that, but at some point you reached the point of, I think I'm done.
yeah, yeah. I think that I had it in my mind for 2 last years probably. I didn't break through to SM Liga that well. I was in the third, fourth line. At that time in the lineup you could have 13 forwards, and I was the number 13. So there big games that I didn't play at all. I was just sitting on the bench and watching the game, and it didn't matter to me. I knew that I was young, and I still have years ahead of me, but I got last 2 years I got 2 injuries, and those aren't the explanations why I quit, but still, um, the last one was I was going to go to surgery, and I was gonna be out for 6 months, and I didn't have a contract, and I owned an apartment, uh, from Oulu, and then I started thinking that I can sell that, and uh, for 6 months I can raise money from the government, and it's like 400 euros, 300 euros per month. So you're able to maybe make a rent with all the other support, but that's it. And so I kind of figured that I was 24 or 25 at that time. I figured that if I now start a different job and hockey, I'm able to maybe uh, keep my apartment in Oulu and grow my wealth during the my working years. So that was probably the trigger that made me quit hockey. Of course, the injury and 6 months, but still, it I had it in my mind for the last 2 years when I played that maybe this is not for me. I love the game, but I haven't got what it takes, like work ethic wise, to keep going, and
But
that's why.
and it's a grind. I mean, I think what people have to realize that, you know, and the same thing here in the US, there's a lot of people that play minor pro that work
Mm,
extremely hard, that is just
mm,
on the edge, and you just need that lucky break sometimes, and it doesn't come, and you're putting in the work, and after a while, you're no longer 20, and now you're
mm,
starting to be competing with the
mm,
20-year-old talent that comes in, and it's not like you're getting rich. Uh,
mm,
so now it becomes, I can make a lot more money,
mm.
and how long am I gonna survive on nothing and putting in the work? So I get it.
Yeah, and then actually the age is quite like the age cap is quite small when you have to break through, because if you don't make it from 18 to 21, I would say, or 22, you start to be people are starting to call you as an old player
Yep.
when you turn like 23, and that's that's just still I don't understand that, but of course I understand it in money wise, because 18-year-old kids are coming in, they can make it a lot cheaper than you do, and probably that's why they call 22-year-old or 23-year-old player. But yeah, it's a small cap that you have to make the breakthrough.
Yeah. So and then you decided to go back to school.
Yeah. Actually, there was few years in between. I was working, and as a salesman, and then I was coaching after, like, right after I quit hockey as a player. I went to coaching in Espoo, under 16 junior team.
Yeah.
And I was working and coaching in the same year, and it was a tough year also, because from the work you have to go straight to the rink, and you don't really have a social life during that period, and I did that for a year. It was a great year, great players who still play at this day. Great, great personalities, and probably the most adult under 16 team I've ever seen in my life. Players were interested of their development, and they asked a lot of questions. They wanted to get better. It was an amazing team, the under 16 team in Espoo Blues at that time. But yeah, I was working, and then I decided after a year, the Blues offered me a U18 coach spot also as an assistant coach in U18, but I had to turn it down because I just, as like we know, you don't make money by
Yep.
coaching juniors. So I kept working as a salesman, and ended coaching for a little period of time. But yeah, after, I think it was 4 years between, and then my friends got me into the coaching again, and I did the same thing for a year. So I coached. Nowadays it's called Kiekko Espoo. When the Espoo Blues went bankruptcy, now it's Kiekko Espoo. But under 15 Kiekko Espoo team, and two of my really good friends were coaching with me, and I was working at the same time, and it was also a tough year, and it was almost the same story than it was like when I started coaching after my player career. I was going to quit coaching again, but then Jokerit reached me, and I knew one of the coaches, or two of the coaches who coached in Jokerit juniors, and they called me, and the first time the club was interested of my future plans, and they asked me that what I want to do, like, do I want to be a coach, or what I want to be at? Is there a education, or could you go to the school, to support your coaching? And then I I was working in a bank during that time, and then I left for study leave, and I took a year in the beginning, and started, I went to school. It was School of Professional Coaching, and it was a year that I went there, graduated, from that school, and coached at the same time. So I was kind of, a professional coach.
Yep.
Without a pay. I would say that. But yeah, still, it was an amazing year. I got to really, think about my coaching, and write down stuff, and just take time to myself and think about me as a coach.
So let's go into that side now, because I think that what's unique is we all, I mean, I coached for 10 years here in the US with youth hockey, and took with me, I didn't have the player career that you had, and by far, and you become kind of an expert after the fact, but with your background and have played at a really good level, and now you're able to get into coaching. Your experience that you bring with you from being a player and have been there and can see yourself, how are you able to utilize not just the skills of you as a player and have been there, but also from the experience standpoint, from a mental standpoint, with this group now? Let's talk about your group of U16 players.
Yeah, the main thing is to, you know, I want to know how my group is doing, how they feel, you know. That you have to ask the questions, you know, from the guys. How are you? How are you feeling? Is there something that bothers you? Is everything good in, you know, life outside hockey? That's the most important thing, is, you know, I see 25 players come into the rink, and, you know, each and every day is different, of course, but we have to dig deeper, because if somebody is, you know, is not putting in the work that you know, we have agreed on, or I you know, I want them to do, you have to, you know, go and ask, is everything okay? And the most important thing, probably what I, you know, wanna bring or do is that I want the players to know where they're at. Like I want to talk with players. I talk with players each and every day, and, you know, want to know how they feel, and you know, because I as a player, the coach didn't, you know, ask me that stuff, or it wasn't something that they did with the team.
And so this group of players, they've been together probably since they were kids, really young kids,
yeah,
and now they're in their last year, and pivotal time in their life, on and off the ice. But some are gonna quit altogether, ninth grade, and they're gonna go to they're gonna go to gymnasium and not play hockey. Some are gonna go and pursue at the highest level, and some are going to be somewhere in between. Do they,
yeah,
you know, so when you're talking about having those conversations about where they are, do you find that a lot of them they struggle with that and knowing kind of what their goals are and what they want to do? And do you parallel that with where you were at the time?
They have goals, dreams. You know, they live in a world where everything comes easy, I would say. They think that if they just, you know, come to the practice and you know, the games, then they will, you know, be able to pursue their dreams, and, you know, that stuff. But what I try to, like, all of the players, if I ask, they want to play in, you know, professional hockey. All the players, they want to do that. But what it takes, it's something that they don't understand, and I try to make them understand, or tell them from my experience, what it takes to play as a professional at some point. And that's, yeah, that's something I want to, you know, tell them each and every day. If they have that goal, it's okay. If you don't have that goal, that's okay. But if you do, then there are certain things that you have to understand before it's too late.
And what are those things that, so let's say you get through and they see that, okay, to play at the next level, I am going to have to do these three things from where I am to where I need to get.
Yeah. First thing is that you get them to, you know, concentrate on practices each and every day, because, you know, we have six days in a week that we have 4 practices and 2 games. That's the basic. And if you are able to get them to show up mentally each and every day, that's a win, a big win.
Yeah.
Because there are too many off days. That's the first thing I would say. And since now we have the private sector coming in, you know, skating coaches, strength coaches, skill coaches. So some of the players, like you said, they are talented and that they want to put in that work. They have to understand that the competition is way bigger, or way there's way more, you know, players that want to, you know, take advantage of this stuff also outside the club practices, and you know they want to get better, and it's just, you know, it's not going to happen if you show up like 3 days a week mentally.
Yeah.
And so the first thing is to, you know, get get them to realize that each and every day is important if you want to, you know, reach your goals.
Yeah. So I think that that's really healthy. And so if you compare yourself to when you were that age, and then when you were in the USHL, you had that realization. So that, man, I see what it takes, and the competition is super tough. But then it becomes this fork in the road of, am I willing to put in that work? Am I going to shoot 200 pucks today? Am I going to go lift after practice or my off day? Or am I going to work on watching the game or whatever the extra work beyond the 4 practices and 2 games? You have to actually take action as well. It's not just knowing.
And I try to teach them, like, you know, if they want to get, you know, quicker, I give them, you know, drills, practices they can do outside the ice, on their own, you know, easy practices. The practices, you know, they take like 20 minutes to 40 minutes. So it's not that big of a time to, you know, do extra work, if you think about it. And I try to give them tools that they can actually, you know, what they can do outside when I'm not, you know, or when my coaching staff and we are not, you know, telling them what to do.
Yep.
And I try to, you know, teach them that they think on their own, that you know, that they don't just, you know, come and when the coach is, you know, drawing something to the board, that okay, I will skate there, I will do that. They have to think about it, and they have to, you know, be, you know, they have to want to, you know, do that stuff outside the practices also. And
so
that's something. But yeah.
So in a group of 25, realistically, how many have the mental aspect of what it takes to actually take advantage of that? Because not everybody will, whether we want to or not, right?
Well, some of the guys, they will, you know, wake up later, of course, and you know, they will realize that, and it's not gonna be too late for them. Some of the guys, they can, you know, wake up to that when they're 18 and, you know, start working and become a professional. I don't know how many players right now in that team, but there are smart kids in that team who want to, who listen, who, you know, who are, you know, who ask questions, who want to get better. You can see that they want to get better. When I, you know, give some advice that if you want to get quicker, you do this drill before the practice, or you know, on your own. And when you go to the rink before the practice starts, there are a few guys who actually are doing this stuff. So that's a huge deal for me, that they are actually, you know, taking advantage of the tips that I give them.
Well, it's commitment, right? And it's a personal commitment. They're not doing it to please you. They're doing it because they want to go somewhere. All right. Let's wrap this up by I've asked this question to several people, but I just think it's profound. Thinking back and it makes a difference. And that's, if you met now you become an expert after the fact, right? But you met yourself, Tomi, the 17-year-old, still in Finland, getting ready to go to Cedar Rapids. But you are now the coach, and you're talking to Tomi, the 17-year-old. What advice would you give Tomi as the 17-year-old now when you've already lived it, that you wish you would have known back then that you know now, that you now have the chance to get through? What's the main advice you would give yourself?
Probably, I would say that, the coaches are responsible of telling you what it takes, I think. So ask a lot of questions from the coach. If you really want to, be a professional player and reach the top, then ask questions, because all the coaches, they don't, they don't talk as much, and they are coaching, but they are not. And I want to believe that each and every coach wants to help players, but ask a lot of questions. If you really, want to, reach the top, then ask questions, be interested in what it takes. It's not a stupid question, ask what it takes. I want to be a professional hockey player. Coach, tell me what it takes. And I feel like he should be able to answer that question for you. And but if I could, be the coach, I would. It would be a tough year with old me, or 17-year-old me, because we would have to go over that conversation, over and over again, that this is not the way to do it.
Would you push yourself? Would you push as a coach yourself as a player harder than you were pushed?
I would, and I would also tell me as a player why I'm doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you would have, do you think that the path would have, I mean, you've had an amazing journey, but you probably could have reached a different destination if you earlier on were able to understand what it takes.
Yeah. Well, of course, but yeah, that's probably the thing that I would do, and I would, and the main thing is that why I'm pushing you.
Yeah.
Why I'm not gonna make it easy for you, because I see the talent, and that's why we, it's not gonna be roses each and every day. But why I'm doing this as a coach, I want to help you to reach your goals. I want to help you to get to the top level, and that's just thing that why we are pushing. I would push myself, of course. I would push myself way harder than I did as a player at that time. But I would also tell me why.
Yeah.
Like why I'm pushing you.
See, I think this is so profound because and that's why you're in this spot right now, and why you are going to succeed as a coach at every level that you're going is because you have seen what it takes, and you have now the knowledge that you can translate to the younger player. And not everybody's going to hear the message, or they're not all of them are going to take in the message, but I think it's the ones that do can really leverage that knowledge that can be pivotal in their career or in their life. And I think that's what puts you in a really unique position, because you can speak from the heart by saying, I have been there, and I care, and I know I can empathize with where you are, and I can now, my job and what I want to do is challenge you to reach within and push harder. It's going to be interesting. You're in a great spot in Jokerit. You've got some young, talented people to work with, and I got a feeling that you're going to be in a position where you're going to be able to go in to coach at a higher level with these experiences. And your career is young as a coach, so it's going to be interesting to follow.
Yeah, and hopefully that will happen, of course. And I love this job. It's helping players is something that I love to do. And like you said, it's not about me. It's about the players and helping them. And that's something that I want to continue to do.
Yeah,
of course.
Well, thanks for coming on. And I appreciate the time, and it's been good talking and getting to know you and your journey and your background and your passion. So we'll follow it for sure, and keep tweeting it out from the Swedish Junior Hockey Podcast.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for having me. It was fun.